Hi, my name is Brian Hylton, and I'm a graduate student at Hylton University. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to my project and view it. This is my graduate research project for Human Resources Management with Professor Sanchez in the winter of 2018. Okay, my project is on CEO compensation. Is CEO compensation exorbitant, meager, or adequate? Okay, just to give you a little bit of background on myself, my name is Brian Hilton. I have an MBA from Hylton University that I worked on and was awarded in March of 2017. I'm currently pursuing a dual master's in human resources training and development, and my anticipated graduation is right after this class in 2018. Um, my undergraduate, I have a bachelor's in political science, and I minored in secondary education at CUNY University in the city of New York, and I also have an associate's degree in liberal arts from CUNY. Okay, give you a little bit more background about myself. I work for a municipal agency in New York City, so that's why I'm interested in CEO and organizational structure and the such. I'm currently a community associate where my earnings range is for my title 41,000 to 59,000. One day, hopefully with my education in this degree, I aspire to be a director, a chief, or a commissioner level manager if I stay in municipal government. Or if I go in the private sector, I aspire to be a senior level management official. The agency I work for has tremendous opportunity for advancement with approximately 6,000 full-time employees and another 3,000 during peak seasons. So there are a lot of opportunities to get experience. Okay, so it's a little table of contents. On slide 6, we'll speak about the quotations that support and denounce CEO compensation. We'll delve further into CEO compensation and some CEO perks, as well as benefits, and analysis of the articles that I chose for this. In the conclusion, we'll speak about the studies and offer the reference page and other items. Okay, so some of the quotations that support or denounce CEO compensation that I found were from professors at the Stanford Graduate School of Business, Professor Larker and Tayan. One of the things that they said in regards to this subject is the common consensus holds that CEOs of publicly traded companies, U.S. corporations particularly, are the largest U.S. companies are overpaid. Okay, we have another quote. Hopefully I get this one right. CEOs are underpaid. This is from Stephen Kaplan. He's a distinguished professor at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and he has written extensive discussions and essays on the topic. Okay, from Van and DePreet, professors at Columbia University, they say that the issue of whether CEOs are paid appropriately is partly about whether executive labor markets officially link pay with performance. Okay, a 2015 Fortune 500 study stated that 75% of CEOs believe CEOs are paid appropriately. Okay, so we want to get into, is CEO compensation exorbitant, meager, or adequate? Let's continue and delve into that. Okay, from our textbooks from this year that we're using for this class, the authors state that many organizations, especially large ones, administer compensation for executives differently from compensation for lower level employees. At the heart of most executive compensation plans is the idea that executives should be rewarded if the organization grows in profitability and value over a period of years. Okay, here's a graph that was made in 2016. This graph states for a typical worker that CEOs make 271 times more than typical workers. In researching this topic, I saw some graphs and uh, articles that said CEOs make 300 times or 400 times. I chose to select this graph because it was illustrative of the point I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is I believe that maybe the commissioner, I work for a municipal agency, so it's commissioner, it's not private. The commissioner, the top level for my title, and I'm not getting paid that, is 60,000 per year. If you times that by 271,000, my commissioner, who's the agency head, who would be the CEO, of this public entity, is grossly underpaid. If we're using these statistics, the commissioner of where I work should be getting paid in excess of $16 million. Okay, so I believe, hey, maybe the commissioner needs to see this project that I'm working on and ask for a raise. Okay, so what is CEO pay or executive compensation? Executive compensation, if you didn't know, is defined as the sum of salary, annual bonus, the values of executive stock options, and long-term incentive plans. Okay, it is the entire pay that a CEO receives. So, couple of those things, 5 things usually, are the actual salary, the CEO's base pay. What are they making? Okay, benefits that are associated with that package, life insurance and pension plans. What executive perquisites are they getting? What kind of perks? Okay, are they getting personal use of the corporate jet? Are they getting a luxurious digs, a nice office? Are they getting special parking, free home repair, things of that sort? Okay. We also have annual incentives and bonuses. These payments are usually triggered when incentives or milestones are reached, and long-term and short-term bonuses. Okay, so elements of executive compensation. Because high salaried executives are in higher tax brackets, many executive compensation packages are designed to offer significant tax savings. So that means basically a lot of the stuff is tax deductible or tax deferred for when the CEO probably never works there and is receiving a big payout at the end. Okay, these savings usually occur through the use of deferred compensation, as I just suggested, and the taxes are taken out when the executives leave the firm. Okay, here's a graphic on a couple of the things that I just described. Those are the 5 main elements of executive compensation. So they're the perks, the supplemental benefits, long-term incentives, annual bonuses, and executive salaries. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about perks with CEO compensation. Perks are special benefits, which are usually non-cash items. So, for instance, going off on a tangent right now, if the CEO utilizes or is able to utilize baseball tickets. I live in New York, so I'm sure a lot of CEOs have tickets to Yankees games, maybe football games, New York Giants, hockey games, basketball. We have the Islanders, we have the Knicks. So they are probably using this to entertain themselves and their friends. So these special benefits are usually non-cash items. They're usually firms with weak corporate governance are more likely to award perks to executives. One element of an optimally designed compensation package is what it usually is. And CEOs who feel they are not being paid enough may abuse the perks to balance the cash shortcoming. So if you feel like you're not getting paid enough, you're going to abuse the perks. So let's say you're able to eat at fancy restaurants. It gets comped, it gets put on the company card. CEOs might overuse that to balance the cash shortcoming. So perks can also be used as a cost-effective way of compensating executives. So if an executive isn't getting paid enough, maybe the perks will balance that out. Okay? Prior to 2006, though, perk compensation filing was limited, but it was then mandated in 2006 by the SEC. Okay, so some examples of perks are air and long distance travel expenses, company car usage, entertainment, as I spoke of earlier, in the example of New York Yankees tickets and maybe Jets Giants for football here in New York City. Okay, we got personal and family related perks, severance package at the end of their tenure there. Sometimes they're afforded legal and financial and tax services. I have a graphic coming up soon that will definitely describe some of these things that we have listed here. Medical allowances. I definitely saw that for one of the CEOs in the upcoming graphic. Financial perks that are unrelated to financial savings or retirement. Administrative privileges, and probably a lot of things under the sun that are just too numerous to detail and discuss. Okay, so here's that graphic I was talking about. This is from Crane's Business, the SEC commission filings. So if you look to the left, a gentleman by the name of Samuel Allen, he got perks for medical exams. Okay, $8,000 he didn't have to pay. So that's definitely good for his situation. Wish health to Mr. Allen. Mr. Rowe at about 3 o'clock, if this were a clock. Mr. Rowe, $3,000 in parking. Wow, that's great. He could park wherever he wants, and the company pays for it. Hey, you need somebody to get to a building right away and do their job, so they're paying for that. Mr. Smits above him at about 1 to 2 o'clock with Sarah Lee, allowed to have a car. The same thing for Miss Rosenfeld, Kraft Foods, car expenses at about 10 o'clock if this were a clock. Okay, we have personal aircraft use with Mr. McNerney at about 7 o'clock. Okay, who else do we have here? We have cash allowances at about 11 o'clock. Legal fees. We spoke of that on the last slide. Legal fees. So you might have something that you're doing or something about your taxes. So the company's picking that up. Okay, so perks work. So executive benefits. Let's speak about that for a little bit. Traditional benefits are usually covered by regular benefit plans, retirement, health insurance, and vacation plans. Some of the supplemental benefits that CEOs receive that regular employees do not receive are no copays with health plans. So when you go to the doctor, you don't have to pay the $5, the $10, the $20, or currently the going rate is about $150 copay at the hospital, the emergency room. So you don't have to do that. That's always good. There are no limits on deductibles, or you can choose any physician that you want. Okay, so it's not covered by your plan. It is now, because you're the CEO and we care about you. Okay, so life insurance is also covered. The company paid financial planning, trusts and wills and tax issues, and deferred compensation. Okay, so here's a graphic looks like they're in a balloon. Um, but it's the opposite way. It looks like the balloon sort of fell. So now, this illustration shows that the bonuses that they receive separate the CEO from the average worker at a high rate. Okay, the graphic says it helps us assess the situation better from up here. Wow, they're very rich. Okay, let's go. Let's see what's going on next. So let's talk about bonuses. Bonuses also represent an important part of CEO compensation, typically greatly exceeding the salaries. Bonuses sometimes are short term and cash based. They're not always guaranteed from year to year. For newly appointed CEOs, so CEOs that just got the job, the bonuses provide near-term feedback on how the board views their efforts. So, are they doing well? Did they do well in their first 90 days? First, 120 before, 120 after that. They reach performance bonuses in the six into the 9 month threshold, the 2 year threshold. So those bonuses will cover those time periods. So the bonuses are likely to motivate newer CEOs to increase future firm performance. So they might receive increased future bonuses. Okay? So CEO compensation continued with bonuses. Bonuses are sometimes discretionary. Okay? The organizations tie bonuses to specific measures, such as a return on investment, earnings per share, or net profits before taxes. Okay, here goes a graphic. I was looking for something about CEO compensation, and I came across a bunch of Dilbert compensations, but I thought one of the most appropriate was the one on the left, where they're discussing how much should we pay our CEO if he just shows up for work. Okay, so this is like a discussion in a boardroom, and it being a comic strip, but being close to reality, because that's what comic strips do. In the second panel on the left, it says $50 million, honk honk. So it's a clown being silly. In the final frame on the left, it says the clown makes a good argument. Wow, that's that hits it right on the nose. So on the second one to the right, we have a graphic from Web Donuts. Looks like there's a gun on the table in a city. Okay, I guess this is replicating a board meeting. So I imagine CEOs there, and it says those in favor of my exorbitant bonus say aye. Those opposed say, good heavens, I've been shot. Wow, so I guess it's easy to assume that CEOs are holding their companies hostage in this graphic. Okay, let's talk a little bit about incentives. Incentives are performance-based incentives. They try to tie executive compensation to the long-term growth and success of the organization. Short-term rewards are based on quarterly or annual performance, and it may not result in the kind of long-run oriented decisions necessary for the company to perform well over multiple years. The typical CEO gets about half of all the total of incentives paid to all senior managers and executives. So let's say, let's just keep it easy. $1 million is the bonus that's, the incentives that's going to go to senior level management. The CEO will get half of that. And the senior managers, there could be 30 to 300, and they split the rest. Okay, that's sometimes that can't be considered exactly fair, because I'm sure a lot of the senior managers have led to the success of the organization's successes. So, questions for considering the reasonableness of CEO pay. When they interview CEOs, would another company hire this person as an executive? Okay, that's an interesting question. Would they hire this person as an executive? I was just thinking about me, and if I ever get to that level or what have you. And that's an important question. I'll keep in the back of my head. Another question is, how does the executive's compensation compare with that for executives in similar companies in the industry? Okay. Is the executive's pay consistent with pay for other employees within the company? What would an investor pay for the level of performance of the executive? Okay, so let's talk about one of the articles that I chose to examine for this research project. This project was done by Professor Xian, and Shuang. Their study was a study of power, pay structure, and firm performance. The methodology used in Chen et al. Is quantitative. The data was collected from CompuStat, Yahoo Finance, and Hoover databases on CEOs and financial information on computer-related industry groups. Okay, it covers a 5-year span on 121 organizations. The main items being explored in this study are firm performance, CEO power, pay leverage, and sales results. Okay, here's a graphic from their study. Within their study, they're measuring variables. Some of the variables that they measured within their study include some of the items that I mentioned, but also short-term versus long-term pay, total compensation, pay leverage, duality, directorship, tenure, composite power, firm age, firm size, and sales growth. So these are all factors that definitely need to be considered. On the next slide, okay, Chen et al. The same article, their findings are based on the hypotheses that CEOs' power may come from the importance of this position due to the fact that CEOs are expected to be capable of positioning their firms to create wealth. So they should be those all-stars that turn around the business or improve the business. Okay, so some of the conclusions and implications are based on agency theory and social network theory within this study. A CEO's power should matter and align with firm performance. Conclusions in this study are that a CEO who's also the chair of the company's board of directors can negatively affect his or her own long-term pay as well as total pay. Longer a CEO is in a position, the higher the long-term pay and pay leverage will be for that CEO. The more composite power a CEO has, the less short-term pay a CEO is likely to receive. They don't have any power there. Okay, so the other study that was examined was Welsh et al. 2012. Is there fire? Executive compensation and employee attitudes. Okay. This study's methodology was qualitative. The study examines the relationship between CEO compensation and employee attitudes. The findings of this study were that employee attitudes appear to be related to some measures of CEO compensation, and although it was found negative and sometimes it was positive, the effect was quite small. Okay, some of the implications of the study include the inability to show a causal relationship, limited external validity, and equations that explain only a small amount of variance, and attitudinal measures that are single source. Additionally, in the Welsh article, their study, amongst other factors, was concerned on that CEO salaries were exorbitant. Okay, the purpose of the study was to explore the extent to which employee attitudes in the existing U.S. workforce are impacted by executive compensation levels. Okay, the two hypotheses that are examined in this study are higher levels of total CEO compensation will negatively be related to employee attitudes, including pay and benefit satisfaction, satisfaction with senior management, and general satisfaction. Second hypothesis, was higher levels of total CEO compensation will be positively related to employee attitudes. Okay, so the survey was done in conjunction with Gantz Wiley Research Work Trends Database. 985 surveys were filled out by adult workers who closely replicate the age, income, and geography of the average worker in the United States. The compensation data was extracted from Standard & Poor's CompuStat Executive Compensation Database. Okay, so this table right here is part of the Welsh et al. Study, and it's a means and standard deviation and correlations. Okay, they examined the variances and the variables of household income, age, gender, they're hourly worker or not, if they're a manager or not, or they're in the manufacturing industry or not, or service industry of or not. So it X a bunch. It has a bunch of variables, and it wants to indicate or try to see if what the mean standard is. Okay, on the next slide from the Welsh et al. This table is the results or the variables for the results of CEO total compensation. Okay, so CEO total compensation is listed, as well as other control variables such as household income, age, gender, hourly worker again, manager, manufacturing industry, etc. Okay, so hypothesis 1. There is no support for the rent extraction hypothesis, and there's a negative relationship. However, hypothesis 2 is supported as the regression coefficients for total compensation change are positive and significant for evaluation of senior management. Okay, there's general satisfaction. The regression coefficient is not significant in the evaluation of pay and benefits equation. In addition, the regression coefficients for total compensation level are not significant for any of the attitudes at the P05 level. Conclusions of the Welsh et al. Study are that there are significant negative relationships were found between percentage change in CEO salary and employee attitudes. Okay, employee attitudes were positive. Employees may have viewed changes because salary is sensitive to negative company performance, and thus this component better corresponds to the rent extraction view of CEO compensation. Okay, and it's unable to show a causal relationship. Okay, the data in this study is not representative of all workers at all companies. Okay, it was just a small sample size. Okay, so I'm wondering, are CEOs underpaid? This project is about CEO compensation. Is it too high? Is it just right? Or is it too low? Okay. How much does a chief executive officer make? Okay. The median annual CEO salary is about $746,000. As early as a month ago, this data was tabulated, with a range usually between $576,000 and $928,000. But this can vary widely depending on a variety of factors. And as we all know, there are a lot of CEOs that get paid well into the 30 and $100 million dollar thresholds. So I just wanted to point out some of the highest paid CEOs in the world and what their salaries are. I'm not going to read all of them, but if you can see at the top, we have 147 million. They paid 147 million to a CEO. In my personal assessment, the guy is a surgeon, and that kind of pay, if you're saving lives and being innovative in that department, in my eyes at least, you deserve that. Okay, and number two, from recent data from recent years ago, we have Joe Chiani of Massimo Corporation. Okay, there's a medical company, so I'm sure they're making advancements in their field. Okay, let's skip down. Let's skip down. We'll skip down to number five, Google. Everybody knows Google. Okay. Let's see. Number eight looks interesting. Okay, and number 10 looks interesting as well. So this ranges from this list at least from 147 to $60 million. Okay, so I just wanted to give give some people maybe who didn't know some structures and some of the responsibilities of CEOs. I just wanted to give them a couple of graphs showing organizational structure. So this particular graph was taken from FedEx, and up top you can see the reporting structure. Okay, within each office, if you scan your eyes to the left, like the office of the CFO, okay, that's not just one person. Like, it's one person that has that position, but his office might have 10 to 40 people within that office. So the CEO ultimately is in charge of every single person within the structure. So this is mainly the main workers, but it doesn't always mention everybody. Even though we have over 20 boxes here, there are probably 5 to 10,000 employees who are affected. Okay, so we all love Steve Jobs. He passed away a few years ago. He's one of my favorite CEOs. Always loved watching his presentations. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of people that he's in charge of. We have global security. We have marketing, video apps, retail, operations, etc. So he's in charge of a lot of people, a lot of operations. Okay, I'm in municipal government, so this is of interest to me. This is actually the structure for the mayor. If you see above, if you could read it, it says the people of the city of New York I guess the CEO above the mayor. Okay, so the agency I work for, one of the agencies I work for, is actually in yellow. We'll go to the next slide. This is a similar to where I work. This is the organizational chart of the New York City Department of the Aging. They have a similar structure to the agency I work for, and they have many divisions. As you can see, there's nutrition here, outreach, caregiver, budget, maintenance, bill paying, etc. Okay, I thought this was a funny graphic in looking these up. As you can see, that's me, and not necessarily you, the person that's looking at it, but there's a funny graphic, like somebody else is on the bottom or what have you. There's so many other bosses. Okay, so how to become a CEO? I thought that would be interesting in this project. Walmart stores CEO earned his MBA at Collins College, which falls in the bottom 25%. So you don't necessarily have to be a graduate of Ivy League schools to become a CEO. So anybody watching this, just want to give you some inspiration. This school that we go to, Amberton University, is not necessarily easy, and do a lot of hard work here. And if you have drive and determination and you're creative, you should have success and be a CEO, is what I'm trying to say. That's what you want to do. So if you'd like to become a CEO, typical qualifications are a bachelor's degree. A lot have MBAs, and you'll have to get a great deal of experience and probably senior level management experience before you become a CEO. Okay. Implications of the two studies on the 21st century workforce. The Chen et al. Article is beneficial to the study of CEO remuneration because it deals with CEO power and corresponding firm performance. The Welsh et al. Article benefits the study of human resource management and makes contributions to the fields of employee behavior, job satisfaction, and executive compensation. They're both peer-reviewed articles and written by professors who are very well respected. They're both current, semi-current articles, and they're very important for 21st century practice and theorem. One study concentrates on CEO pay structure, and the other one concentrates on executive compensation with respect to employee attitudes. So, in conclusion, CEO compensation to this researcher is adequate. In a capitalist world that is predicated on competition, innovation, free trade, the barometer has been set for exorbitant salaries, in some cases meager salaries. CEO compensation has received increased media attention and public scrutiny as CEO salaries go up while worker salaries stay the same. Employee attitudes towards CEO compensation could be considered indifferent because sometimes there's no transparency for workers to know what senior level remuneration is. Okay, that is the end. Okay, here are some of my reference pages if you would like to check and learn more about the subject. Okay, so I'd like to apologize for the lateness with this project. Um, I was under the impression that it was due on Sunday since all assignments for this class were traditionally due on Sundays for this class. Don't like to use this excuse, but I've been a little scatterbrained lately. My grandmother just passed away. Currently a single father of 3 children. Returned to work last week. I work full time and I technically go to school full time, carrying 9 credits at Amberton in this graduate program. I'd love to give a major shout out and rest in peace shout out to my grandmother, Ann Garcia, who we miss dearly. I would also like to wish my son Jace happy birthday. He just turned 13 and helped me immensely with uploading this project. And I would like to wish all students luck in their endeavors. And hopefully, one day, if you want to, I want to, we will become handsomely paid CEOs. Okay? Thank you for listening to this project. I appreciate your time. Thank you.